For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in a small little town near Sidi Bouzid. It's called Jilma, a town of 5,000 people. In 2011, the rate of illiteracy in Jilma was 72%. 72% of the people have a third grade level education. So what was it? Was I special?
Back in time, in your generation, it was difficult to have someone to guide you. While now in our generation of technology, we have pretty much what we need. What could you tell us that we don't know to inspire us?
To inspire you, nothing. You need to be inspired yourself. However, what I can tell you that there's not much that I can't tell you that you don't already know. I mean, your generation, access to information is plentiful. So it's really not the information that you lack. It's perhaps putting it all together. There's so many elements today to what a young person like yourself needs to do. It's a much more difficult time than the time when I was your age, because technology changes very, very quickly. The ecosystem, the world that we live in today is evolving at a much faster rate. So all I need to tell you is to be more aware of your surroundings, be more aware of the world around you and how it's changing, and where you fit in that. What are the skills that you need to acquire beyond your schooling? The skills that you need to acquire beyond technology, the personal skills. It's what I always say to students. What I cannot teach you in the classroom that you need to acquire yourself. Because regardless of where you're going in terms of technology, regardless of where you're going, you still need to talk to people. You still need to convince people. You still need to have empathy to people. Robotics and robots don't have that. A robot cannot touch and feel and sense, and cannot tell if water is cold or hot. You see, humans do that. So as young people, focus on that. Technology is great, but
tell me something about you that is not in your CV.
It's not in my CV.
Yeah.
That's very easy. All my failures are not in my CV. Okay. The curriculum vitae is meant for us to sell ourselves to others, and naturally we always focus on the positive things. When we meet someone, we tell them about our accomplishments. When we meet someone, we tell them about our diplomas, our successes, the people we met. But what we should be aware of, that is generally, that teaches us as much, are the failures that we do not put on our CV. The applications that you put to schools where you did not accept, where you were not accepted. The diplomas you wanted and you didn't get. The jobs you applied for and you didn't get. So those are also important to be aware of those, because those teach us just as much about ourselves as our successes. I see that our failures as part of our successes, and so that's what you will not find on my CV, but you will find it in my day-to-day behavior.
What do you know today that you wish you had known when you first started as an entrepreneur?
What do I know today that I wish I had known when I first started as a young entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know how much time you have, but this requires a lot of time. Almost everything. When I look back at my first entrepreneurial venture, I was 22, 23 years old. I had many people working with me. I don't want to say for me. I used to say working for me, but I realized that we were working together as opposed to. And I look back at that experience, I realized how much I didn't know. I practically knew nothing. Now, years later, I'm still an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. And everything that I've applied then, I try to avoid today. When I was younger, it was more about me. It was more about my ego. My ego was this animal inside of me that I needed to feed. It was all about me. I was the center of the universe. You know, I was the smartest person, I was the best looking guy. No, I'm just kidding. But today it's not about me. Today it's about my employees, it's about my customers. I'm no longer the center of the universe. Even though I am the leader, or I'm one of many, many leaders in the company, I don't try to be the one that is the smartest person in the room. You know, I try to surround myself with people who know more than I do about specific things. There is no point in getting people who are smarter than them in their field of expertise. It sort of makes no sense. Then they become robots, execute only what I tell them. It's idiotic to recruit someone who's smart so that you can end up telling them what to do. So I didn't do that in my first venture. I recruited people that I knew I could have some power on them to tell them what to do. And that's wrong. For me to grow as a business and as a person, I need to surround myself with people who know more than I do. And that's not easy to do for a young entrepreneur, because we lack the self-confidence. We worry what happens if that person all of a sudden runs with the company, not runs away with it, but goes in a different direction, a different vision. So it's another subject altogether in terms of how to create that level of trust.
So how you convince those people who started working with you at first to work with you and you didn't know much?
It's about sharing, it's about trust. It's not easy to do, you know, when you first get started.
Yeah.
There's so many elements that your young entrepreneurs today get started with an idea and they want to grow. So they must be good at they have some expertise, some idea. But what they lack is how to get all these different steps to get to that point where that idea is materialized into a product or a service that answers a need, that solves a problem. For that you need others to help you along the way. And the cement, the glue that keeps that all together for that team to grow is the trust that exists between the people. People that work for you should be your partners, and I don't mean your partners in the traditional sense where they have a percentage. I mean, if that works, it's great. But your partners in that they share that vision with you. And that vision, they can share it with you if there is a certain element of trust that exists between you.
In most of your conferences, you always say that there is no magical formula for a successful entrepreneur. So what guided you through your life today?
It is true, not only is there no success formula or recipe to follow, but also success evolves in itself. Success for me when I was 25 is not what success is for me today. At 25, it was more quantifiable. It was a chiffre d'affaires, it was my revenues, it was the kind of car that I drove, it was how many employees I had. You see, it was how I was perceived by others. Sometimes I wasn't even successful, but it was important to me that others thought I was successful. You see, that evolves. Today, frankly, I don't care if people think I'm successful or not. You know, today, it's not the number of employees that matters. Most of the time, I work within a small group of 3 or 4 individuals. It is the impact that my actions have on the environment that I live in. If I live in a community environment, in a small community, it's what impact do my actions have on that community. If I live in a country like Tunisia, or the community like the technology world, or the entrepreneurial world, whatever world I am in, I measure success by the impact that I have on that community. Am I able to change their lives? Am I able to improve the quality of their lives? Am I able to solve their problems? That to me is success. Not so much with what are my revenues on a day-to-day basis. There are companies that are making lots and lots of money. But in my view, today, they're not successful. Because that money is not going in a way to enrich other people's lives. If we have learned anything, ever since the entrepreneurial revolution or the last technological revolution, is that technology in itself is useless if it doesn't solve people issues, problems, medical problems. You know, the social entrepreneurship. I'm a great believer in entrepreneurship working for humanity and not the other way around.
What's your piece of advice that you can give that most don't expect?
What piece of advice can I give to young entrepreneurs?
Yeah. That people don't expect.
That don't expect.
Yeah.
Be crazy. Be crazy in the sense that live free beyond what other people expect or how other people expect you to live. We are in a society, and I'm going to speak now more about our Tunisian culture. I honestly, because I've lived in so many different countries and I've dealt with youth in the Middle East, in Asia, in Europe, in the United States, North America in general, our youth today in Tunisia are somewhat slaves, not only to themselves, but to the expectations and that society and the restraints that societies have put on them. We have conditioned our youth to live based on, in a box that everyone had painted for them. You know, and we draw a sort of barbed wire, you know, that if you touch, you go beyond that box, that limit, that frontier, you get electrocuted. So you become conditioned like Pavlov's dog. You know, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. You should speak like this. You should dress like this. I say, hell with this. Be crazy. I don't mean be crazy as in break the laws. Be crazy as in have fun. Enjoy what you do. Be passionate about what you do. Don't take a job just because you need to pay your rent. Don't take a job just because you need to buy something. Don't commit yourself to any relationship, personal or professional, just because it serves your immediate short-term goals. Be smart, think long-term. Be passionate. Do not take a job, don't do anything if you're not in love with it. Because you get tired. The first obstacle you meet, you'll give up. You don't want to do that. So, and be crazy, have fun. If you're not having fun, you're not living. If you're not having fun at something, believe me, you're not going to be successful in it. Because it'll feel like it's a chore. It's like, oh my gosh, every day. And then every day your mind is going to say, hell with it, don't do this. It's not fun, don't scold, it's hot, it's rainy. You'll give up. You'll not be given your best and results are not going to be there. So find what you love and go for it. Don't worry about money right away. Money will come. This is a marathon. You're in it for the long run. You're not in it for the next 2-3 years. So try to think in a very strategic way. Try to think long term.
So what's your biggest failure?
My biggest failure, obviously there are personal failures at the personal level and there are professional at the professional level. We'll just keep this at the professional level because there are plenty on the personal level. A business that went bankrupt back in 2000, I filed for bankruptcy in one of my businesses that didn't succeed, and I had to pay $1.4 million in penalties, and which I did. What I learned in the process, leading to that failure, and then afterwards starting a new business, but while paying the penalties, had taught me a lot about myself, about how I can get knocked down. You know, I get knocked down by a punch from Mike Tyson and get up and still fight again. And today I look back at, I didn't enjoy it at the time, I have to be honest. You know, it wasn't fun. But I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it happened because today I live in a world that is not what it was before that bankruptcy happened.
So how can you maintain this energy?
Huh?
How can you maintain this energy?
Standards. The only standards that I have are high standards. I expect a lot of myself. perhaps that's a fault of mine. I expect a lot of the people that are around me. Perhaps I give them a hard time. I realize that most people are mentally lazy because our brains sort of, you know, if this makes sense, we have two brains. We have a lazy brain and then we have an active brain. The lazy brain is much more powerful than the active brain. So he always convinces the active brain, I don't do this, forget it, let's do this way. So I know that the capacity for us to do a lot more and it is there. So the expectations are there, and so to a fault I expect people to perform at a higher level. When I was younger, this presented me a lot of problems, because in the teams that I was working with, I expected the same results as I was delivering. And then I realized people are different, they have different speeds, they have different ways of looking at things. So now, that's the first thing I focus on. So
Lotfi Saibi, the director of 4D Leadership
House.
Had you reached what you want?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Had you reached what you want?
Had I wished?
Reached.
Oh, have I reached what I wanted? No, of course not. You cannot. What you want can never be something that you can quantify. It has to be in my world. I don't know, I might be wrong. Until the day I die, I will never reach, because probably the day before I die, what I want is going to change. You know, so my goal keeps changing, my passion keeps changing, I keep evolving. So I'm never going to reach a point where I say, you know, put one leg over the other. Now I have gotten to where I want. Because life is many stops, many little stops, many little goals. You reach one, then you set your eye on the next goal, and then you reach that one and you set that. And every stop is so that to prepare you for the next one. So I can never say that I've already reached. I've reached many objectives in my life. My education, bringing up my son, my health. I have like many little goals. Even within a day, I have many goals. Just like in life, I have many goals. My health, my education, my job, my contribution.